Welcome to Season 6 of Hoda's Career Info. Thank you for your continued support. Today's guest is New York-based executive leadership coach Susanne Mueller. I am your host, Hoda Kilani, career and academic coach. Stay tuned as I continue to build on your engagement and trust. Let's go.
Traveling is growing, is learning, it expands your horizon. Whatever decision you take now is the right decision. Be optimistic and be positive, but realistic. Everybody is an athlete. Everybody takes a few steps. So why not work towards a gold medal?
Thank you for joining Hoda's Career Info, the program where guests from across the globe share their lived career literacy experiences. Real stories designed to help you actively and intentionally shape your career. Watch, listen, and learn. If you find this episode helpful, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Also, follow me, Hoda Kilani, on social media for more career literacy insight. Our guest today is Susanne Mueller. Susan is a Swiss-born, New York-based executive leadership coach specializing in developing high-potential leaders, global executives, and founders across diverse industries and sectors worldwide. Susan began her career in sales and marketing with Swiss Airlines, where her passion for global business development was ignited. She has since worked extensively across multiple sectors and geographies in both for-profit and non-profit organizations. Susan has published several books, including Take It from the Iron Woman, Global Business Coaching with Sports Parallels, and Lipstick Leadership, Empowering and Inspiring Women Who Dare to Lead. In her spare time, Susan completed the Ironman distance triathlon in Lake Placid, 26 marathon races globally, and summited Mount Kilimanjaro. She is a certified running coach and keeps fit with running, swimming, biking, yoga, and hiking. Impressively, she has traveled to over 50 countries and speaks 5 languages. Thank you for joining me and Susanne Mueller. Stay with us, and together let's learn from Susanne's experience. It's such an honor to have Susanne Mueller join me today. Very excited by this opportunity to talk to Susanne with all her accomplishment, as you heard in the bio. Susanne, welcome today to Hoda's Career Info.
Thank you so much for having me.
Susanne, you are an executive coach, cross-cultural expert, author, TEDx speaker, and Iron Woman. Congratulations on all these accomplishments. Can you take us a little bit to the beginning? What did you think your career would look like? Did you always know that what we're doing today was going to be it?
Oh, that's a very good question. Sometimes I'm reflecting on when you are 7 or 8 years old, when people ask you, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? I don't remember what my answer was. I don't remember that, but I always had a love of travel. I always had a love of books. My mom said I had books around me in my bed. She had to take them away at night so I could sleep comfortably. One thing I remember is I was reading a book and then I was in my room and I opened up the door and I said to my mom, where is Timbuktu? I would ask those questions, and growing up, we always had, like the old days, like a book and a map, and we could look up the countries, and I would be fascinated by, as I said, Timbuktu or Lake Titicaca. And many, many years later, I was actually at Lake Titicaca in Bolivia, Peru, and I kind of like fulfilled my dream. So the traveling has always been in my genes. I used to work for the airline. I was working in the lost and found department. And I always say, this is where I got my free educational cross-cultural awareness training, because in the lost and found, you were exposed to people from around the world, that people from Madagascar, from Lagos, from South Africa, from Dubai, from around the world. And I was always amazed how I connected with the people, even though I come from a very small town. We're like Thun is 40,000 people. And then when I came to Zurich to work at the airport, that gave me a little more. And then I came to New York and I was working for the Swiss mission to the United Nations. I was having lunch at the cafeteria at the United Nations, and I took in all the cultures. I think when you ask me, where did it start? I think it started reading books about different cultures. And now, obviously with Zoom, it's possible. I've worked with people from, I think 60 countries, and I traveled so far to more than 50 countries. So I like to travel to all the countries. I don't know if that's humanly possible, but as long as I can, I would love to.
I love your story, and perhaps because I like to read books and to travel as well, and I think that we have that in common. And 50 countries, that's another accomplishment in of itself. And if I were to ask you to focus on one accomplishment, which one would you pick?
Oh, that's so difficult. I think crossing the marathon finish line in New York City has been like a pivotal moment in showing what have I achieved. And by that, I mean, it's just not that one day. It's like you train for that one day. And I think also in the career, we think like we have a title director or VP, and this is it, and it's glamorous. But until you get there, there's a lot of work. So as we say, the journey is more important than the destination. I think crossing the finish line of the New York City Marathon and having that medal. And one year, a friend of mine gave me the medal. So not only was I crossing, but I saw a friend of mine and she shared that moment with me. So I think that was very special to me.
It's definitely an accomplishment to finish that marathon. As you went through these accomplishments, do you feel that your values, what you learned at home or what you learned in school, influenced the choices that you made along the way?
Yes, I think so. I mean, in school, I went to an all-girls school, and at that time, I didn't like it so much. But when you look at research, they say girls can focus on what is important. And maybe if we had boys, I could have been more active in the sports. And also, I think in growing up in Switzerland, the sports was not so much pushed, because when I talk to people they in the US or maybe also in Canada, they say, oh, I did this in college, I did that in college. And I envy the people that were being pushed to do more. And I think if I had somebody, like I like the swimming, and I know there was a swim team in the summer, I was not asked for that team. And then my mom said, oh, you could have been a good swimmer. I love swimming. So when you think about career, you need one or two people who see that you might have the potential, or even if you don't have the potential, but at least you invite them and you have fun and it's a passion of you. Go and try out everything. I think that's the message for everybody. Try out. And even if you're not that good, at least you have tried it. There is one example. When I started to study at Columbia, I know they have a fencing team. And I was always intrigued by fencing because it looks so elegant. And it, like in the Olympics, I'm always watching fencing. And people say, why? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just fascinated. So I went there to the gym. I said, can I join the fencing team? The guy looked at me like, who is she? What does she want? So obviously, I was not part of the fencing team, but I took once a class and I was fascinated by the methodology and the elegance. Yeah, so try something out that, why not?
This is such a good message. And one of the things when you tell people go try something out, they're afraid of failure. So can you share with us a setback that later turned out to be an advantage?
Yeah, it's a very funny example. So I was training for the New York City Marathon. And usually when you're running 2-3 hours, you get a little tired. And I was on my last I don't know, kilometer, and I fell, and I was like all dark and brown, and I think some bleeding also. And somebody came, usually very nice. Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah. I just fell. It's okay. Then I go home, and a friend of mine says, let's sign up for a half Ironman. So isn't it funny in a way? First I fall, and then I sign up for the next bigger challenge. So it also goes to show that we see it with little kids. They fall, they get up, they fall, they get up. So that's what I was doing. And I don't know if that was a wise decision, but I did it no matter what, because I feel like it's a challenge. And I also want to say I did the challenges for myself. I didn't do it. These days, we need to have a selfie and it's all on social media. I did it for myself to see how far I can go or what it takes. That's the message that I have as a coach these days. Try it out. Or people say, oh, what you have done. And I'm like, yeah, please try it out. I'm happy to be with you on that journey, tell you what I've learned and what you can learn out of this experience.
I'm wondering now, what helps you take action every morning? What helps you say, okay, I'm going to take this challenge on?
At one point, I said, I'm a lazy person, so I need to have a goal and a challenge. And sometimes I also like to have a deadline because then I need a little stress, I think. I know people say stress is not good, but a little stress still is good to push you a little harder, a little further. And I always say it's one step at a time, one day at a time. And when people say, I can't, it's take that extra step. I learned that from Roger Federer. He says, when you think you're done, do one more, whatever his serve or his volley, do one more. So this gives me the umph to do more.
That's a great tip. And you do share more tips on your podcast. The name of the podcast is Take It from the Iron Woman. Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast and what are you hoping to share through it?
Thank you. So Take It from the Iron Woman is because I've done the Iron Man, but I'm a woman, so that's why I changed the title. I want to interview interesting people from around the world who have cool stories. So it is about the sports world, but also the business world. So what can we learn from the sports that we can transfer into the business? And mainly it's the entrepreneurial spirit, it's the determination, it's the never giving up. And also that when you ask me what gives me the drive to get up every morning, it's creating that drive and inspiring others. I mean, I have more than 500 episodes and I've spoken to people from around the world. And it's a fantastic way of getting to know people and uplifting what they're doing and changing the world a little bit on a small scale.
Is it targeted for any specific audience?
I think it's inspirational. So I have to think, I had the Glitter Glam Girls as my 100th episode. And at that point, they were 10 years old. I have somebody who's 22 years old, but then I also have somebody who's 86 years old. So I have everybody can be listening to my podcast. And some podcasts are more focused on women, some more on entrepreneurs, and some more on sports. But there is a thread of what I realized of humanity, of making a change in the world, and also not be afraid. I think that runs through my podcast.
That sounds very inspirational. I hope we were able to relate the message to whoever listening and is curious about your podcast. The name of it again is Take It from the Iron Woman. If I were to ask you to give advice to the young people today, what advice would you give them?
Travel as much as you can. I remember when I was working for the airline, people would say, you have to save money. You have to save money. And I was like, I want to travel. I want to travel. So I probably took the latter road and I traveled more and focused on the money later. But traveling is growing, is learning. It expands your horizon. And people, when you read on social media or wherever you read, older people, you ask them and they say, what should you have done more? Is traveling and taking risks. I see a lot of young people and they have an opportunity to go to Europe, let's say, and they're like, I don't know, and and I was like, go. I remember when I had the opportunity to move to New York, two people said, what if you don't like it? And I was like, I would have never imagined that question. Or what if it doesn't work out? And I was like, well, there's always another solution. So I think whatever decision you take now is the right decision, even though it's the wrong decision, maybe in other people's eyes. But this is your decision and you go for it and you make the best out of it. Moving to another country, I'm sure you have done it also, is an experience in itself, and you learn about yourself, and you have to be more open and more flexible. And I think that's what we can bring back into wherever we're coming from, and also inspire other people. So travel more.
I love to travel, so I do love this advice. Plus, that opportunity not only to explore where you land, but to explore what you like and don't like through travel. My last question to you today, Susan, is what projects are you working on today that you would like to share with the audience and think that it would be cool for us to learn about you?
Thank you for that question. I've been working on a project and it's called Get Fit in 2026. And it's not another fitness model or program. It's actually about leadership. And as I mentioned before, I've done many races like 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer marathon, Ironman. And now I use that methodology for leadership. It's in a way, in a 5K, the methodology is that you have to start out and you go fast. So let's say you have an issue, you need to talk to a person the following day. Let's get started, let's assess. So go fast. And then when we do another program where we have a little more time, it might be your promotion, then we have like, let's say 10 coaching sessions, and we can dig a little deeper. So I have various programs. And while I was impressed and also motivated to start this, is we are less than 1,000 days away from the LA Olympics in 2028. And if you think everybody is an athlete, everybody takes a few steps. So why not work towards a gold medal? So I'm part of the journey because I've done all those races and I can share some of it, but also I have coached many leaders across many industries. So I'm happy to do that. And I'm happy to meet many Olympians and athletes in those programs.
I love this. And is there a way for people to check this out?
Yes, it's on my website. So we can find all the programs. And I also start a kind of like a happy hour, but it's called Happy Counting Hours. So we want to count our steps, and we all have devices these days. So once a month, I think it's every first Wednesday of the month, we meet and we compare how many steps have we taken. And my philosophy behind it is, if you have a little competition, you check your watch or your device in the evening, you're like, I only have 5,000 steps. Let me go around the block, or let me do some more steps. So it's a motivation to get fitter, but also be mentally fit for 2026 and beyond.
I will just share your website. So susanmueller.biz or BIZ. Susan, these were all the questions I had prepared for you today. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask you?
Yeah, when you ask about career, it's not that we think we should go for one career. Let's say we go into marketing and we stay always in marketing. We can pivot, and maybe you go into a hotel or you start your own. And even if your own doesn't work out, you can kind of like go in a different direction. And that's the beauty in the US, where you fail, you get up and you do something else. And that's also acceptable. And we learn from our failures, rather than we see that line of success is always going up. But when we look at our careers, it's like, I mean, I made a lot of coffee. I cleaned. As a young girl, I was working in a restaurant. I didn't like it so much because I had to take out the dishes out of the dishwasher. I wanted to be helping people and bringing the desserts, but I had to learn first. And also there were jobs that were not so interesting, to say the least, but I took advantage. I went to school at night. So I used the time from 9 to 5 work, but be present and do the great work. And then at night I could do what I wanted. And also with the running, while the job was not so fulfilling, the running gave me much more. So I think we always have to think there's more than one thing we can do. Obviously, we know we should not be multitasking, but if one thing doesn't work out so well, we can always do something that brings joy to us. And especially when people think of starting their own business, stay in the job as long as you can. And I always, and this sounds horrible, I always say, how much money do you need to make? And people are like, the money is not that important. But I think if you have a car, if you have a house, if you have kids, you have that fixed income that needs to be happening, and you cannot start with zero and fulfill your passion where you don't make any money. So I always caution a little bit. But obviously, when I lost my job at one point, and then you have options, right? Do I go into another job, or do I try to start? And what if it works? So I think it's also another tip is that be optimistic and be positive, but realistic, because it feels like it looks so easy to be your own boss. But then when you're your own boss, when you work on a project, you have multiple bosses. So I hear a lot of people say, I want to be my own boss. Well, I'm not always the nicest boss, I have to admit. So I'm sure you can also attest that it's not so easy to be a one-woman show. When you ask me what gets me up in the morning, it's like, I need to get going. I want to create more, and working on projects I like. So it's and then you need to also reach out. And the final tip that I like to give is networking is so important. People think, I network when I need a job, or that's when it's too late. You have to start your network earlier and also diversify your network, because if you just focus, again, I use that marketing example, you only know people in marketing. Well, then what if you work in finance? You don't know anybody in finance. Reach out to other people. And I want to say that the running community has been so good to me. I became a running coach for the New York Roadrunners. And in the running, everybody comes. You put on your shoes, you put on your jacket, your hat, your glasses, and everybody's the same. Some are a little faster than others, but you can network. So I met CEOs, I met teachers, I met physical therapists, I met chefs, I met people from around the globe and also in different walks of life. And then people say, your network is amazing. I'm like, yeah, but I worked for it. And I always say, when you look at the word networking, it has the word work in it. So networking is work. And I think that's how I also found you. You post many things, you have interesting guests. And I was like, it would be great to be on your podcast, on your show. So here I am, and I'm very happy to share some of my wisdom.
Your answer was loaded, and not surprisingly, I agree with everything you said. If we were to summarize the top 3 points from what you shared, I heard networking. What else would you add to that?
I think it's curiosity, courage, and networking. But I mean, if you're curious, you're in a way, when you go to a networking event, you want to meet other people. So that's the curiosity. And the courage is like, don't be afraid to ask questions. Because if you ask a question, maybe somebody else wanted to ask that question as well. So don't think like, I don't want to ask that question. Because if you don't ask it, you might regret it that you have not asked that question.
That's perfect. And thank you so much for your time today, Susan. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much. Good luck.
Well, this is it for today's episode of Hoda's Career Info, the program where guests from across the globe join me to empower you to succeed. Our guest today on Hoda's Career Info was Executive Leadership Coach Susanne Mueller. You can connect with Susanne on LinkedIn. The quote that stood out to me in this episode is, "Whatever position you take now is the right decision. Even though it is the wrong decision, maybe in other people's eyes, this is your decision and you go for it and you make the best out of it." by suggesting we make the best out of a decision, regardless of external perception. Suzanne highlights the role of resilience in vocational development. Can you identify a time when a wrong decision in the eyes of others actually provided the essential friction needed for your personal or professional growth? Reflect and share. Remember that you can watch Hoda's career info on YouTube or listen to the episode on your favorite podcast app. To let me know if you're interested in an opportunity to talk about your career literacy skills, you can send me a direct message on my website, rightcareerfit.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter to stay up to date on the latest episodes. Please like, subscribe, share, and follow me, Hoda Kilani, on social media. And together, let's increase career literacy. I'm your host, Hoda, career and academic coach. I can't wait to hear your reflections on career literacy in action. Until next time, take a moment to pause, rethink, and confidently assert your beliefs, experiences, abilities, values, and interests, also known as your BV.